Hi everyone, Chef Hamill here. I am going to demonstrate how to shuck these absolutely gorgeous Peconic Gold oysters that I purchased yesterday. Peconic Gold Oyster Company is located in the Peconic Bay on Long Island, and they have some specials running right now, especially because of the hard economic times. So they're offering 24 easy to open oysters with their Peconic Gold Oyster shucking knife with their logo, very cool, for $30. You can also purchase shucked oysters, $30 for a pint and $50 for a quart, which would be great in soups, stews, bisques, chowders, etc. One thing to go over, so when you're storing oysters, it's really important that you keep them in the mesh bag that they come in. They need to be able to breathe. They are a living animal. And you also have to store them on some ice. So I have them on some ice in this bowl, and it's important that as the ice melts that you discard that water and replace it with some fresh ice until you're ready to use them. So, when shucking an oyster, there's some things we need to know. So, what we're trying to do is pretty much get the tip of our knife into the corner of the shell, and what we're trying to do is separate the top of the shell from the bottom of the shell. And what holds the oyster together, or what helps the oyster open and close, is a muscle that's inside. So what we're doing is we want to pop the muscle that's in the corner and slide our knife horizontal, removing or cutting that muscle. So we need to have a towel to help us hold the oyster and to help us protect our hand. And what we're going to do is take the point of our oyster knife and carefully dig it into the corner of our oyster, kind of wiggling it back and forth. And you're going to have to apply a decent amount of pressure, but you don't want to be too strong. And you will feel that muscle kind of pop once you get in there. And what you're going to do is you're going to slide your knife horizontal between the top shell and the bottom shell. And what that is going to do is break that muscle that holds the shells together. It definitely takes some practice, and this is not something I do on the regular, but this one actually came out perfect. And what you really want is to keep the natural juices inside the oyster. So if you go to a restaurant and the oyster looks mangled and there's not really any of that natural juice inside, most likely it wasn't shucked by somebody who's had a lot of practice, which I hate to say. But it definitely is a skill that takes a lot of time to get good at. Another thing to point out is if you're serving these on the half shell raw, you need to release that muscle that is underneath the oyster itself. So you need to take your knife and kind of dig underneath the oyster and release that muscle so that when the person eating it goes to slurp the oyster, as we say, it is just going to go right into their mouth. And look how absolutely gorgeous that is. I had one before. They are really sweet and salty and briny. They have all of that great sea water flavor that you look for in an oyster. So I'm going to store them on ice until I am ready to devour them. Half of these I will probably eat raw, and half of these I am going to make Cajun style char-grilled oysters, where you actually take the oyster on the half shell and you're going to put some seasoned Cajun butter on top with some parsley and Parmesan cheese, some lemon juice, and you actually put them right on the grill, and the heat from the grill heats the shell, and the oyster cooks in the shell and has a really great grilled flavor. Absolutely delicious. I'm going to put some recipes in the description below for you to follow, and I'm going to shuck a few more just so you can see. It's definitely going to take some practice, so if you break off some pieces of shell, don't get discouraged because it happens. But any that you really mangle, you could always just cook or put in a soup or something and no one would even know that you messed up. So you're gonna drag that knife through the top part of the shell. I have a bowl for the tops of the shells. Make sure there's no pieces of shell in the oyster itself. And these I'm gonna eat on the half shell, so I'm gonna make sure that I dig my knife underneath to release that mussel. And you can serve these with fresh lemon juice, with cocktail sauce, with a mignonette sauce, which is like a vinegar-based sauce, usually red wine vinegar, but it could be different types of vinegar, and you can flavor it with, I've seen apples and onions and jalapeno for a little bit of a spicy one. I've had a bacon mignonette, which is really delicious and has a smoky flavor as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to spice up even just a plain oyster on the half shell. But an oyster on the half shell should really be focused on the flavor of the oyster itself, because that is what is the star. So if you have any questions, please comment below. I hope this video was useful to you, and please check out Peconic Gold Oysters on Instagram and on Facebook. I will put their information in the description below, and please remember to support your local businesses. Thank you so much. See you soon.